Hello, everyone, and welcome back to HRTechify, your quick dose of humanizing the workplace. And today we are talking about leading with empathy. So, let me ask you something real quick. Have you ever had a leader who made you feel truly heard? And when I say that, I am trying to understand from you, have you worked with a leader who was not just interested in helping you execute and manage your tasks, but someone who genuinely heard you and made you feel seen? If yes, I guess you have already experienced leaders who are empathetic, and I think you already know by now how empathetic leaders change the way one experiences an organization. I recently came across an interesting article in Forbes by Dr. Tracy Brower, which was titled Empathy is the Most Important Leadership Skill According to Research. Now, this article came around 2021 and it sheds light on why empathy isn't just a nice to have, but an essential. And while I was reading the article, one powerful statistic stayed with me. So, according to the article, 61% of employees who have empathetic leaders feel empowered to innovate. But when empathy is lacking, that number drops to just 13%. Now, that's a massive difference and something to think about, especially, when we hear leaders talking about bringing innovation to the workplace. It goes to show how empathy can have a huge impact on an employee's engagement levels, which ultimately ends up empowering your employees to innovate at the workplace. So, what exactly is this empathy in leadership, and why isn't it about just fixing people's feelings or being overly emotional? Well, I'll give you my own perspective, and I think it's about being human. It's about seeing the person behind the role and asking yourself, what might they be going through right now? It's also about recognizing your team as people first with their own challenges and pressures and taking a moment to understand where they are coming from. While some of you might think that showing empathetic side as a leader would only present you as a soft leader, I personally do not think so. Instead, I think it's a very powerful move to improve your team's retention and enhance their performance. Now, I also know you would also be thinking, all of this is fine, but how do you actually lead with empathy in the real sense? Well, let me share with you my personal experience. So, I've been fortunate to have worked under the same manager in two very different organizations. One was an early age Indian startup, the other is a 150 plus year old global organization. And having worked under that manager in these two different organizations made me realize what does it take to become an empathetic leader. And if I had to sum up what she did consistently and effectively, I think it will bring me down to think about these three simple things. Number one, listen. Number two, acknowledge. Number three, being curious and not judgmental. Now, when I say listen, when I saw my ex manager or my leader to that she was not just listening, she was listening to understand and not just reply. Now, what I learned from her was that you don't need to jump in with a fix. Just ask, hey, is everything all right? And give it a pause. And then you actually listen. Now, that pause matters. And that takes you a step closer to being an empathetic leader. She is really good with the pause and giving you the time to share. The second thing I saw her doing consistently was to acknowledge. Now, she would always acknowledge the challenges or obstacles or even cheer for the achievements, however big or small it was. She would just come by or ping you on your office Teams, or maybe, just give you a phone call. And she would say things like, I understand that the work right now is not very interesting or it's very difficult, and I can understand how frustrating it is. Or, call me up or call the team up just to celebrate the way a specific program went through, or or a presentation went well, and she would just come back and say, well, that really went well, and I think it's a very positive thing that happened today, so something to share about. And that made you feel special, that made you feel happy, that made you feel that, okay, I have someone who is actually seeing in real sense what are we doing, whether it is good or bad for the organization or the team. Now, the last thing I noticed was she was never judgmental. She's always curious, but I've never seen her coming to a judgment even before understanding the situation. Now, I'll be honest, I have found it very difficult and I'm still trying and working on it consciously. How do you separate out curiosity from judgment? And for me, it's not been easy, but I saw her doing it pretty consistently and effectively most of the times. And what I saw her was that she would focus on understanding the why behind someone's behavior and not just react to it. So, for example, if someone is not behaving in a manner that they ideally should in a in a team call or in a meeting, she would, instead of reacting, she would take a pause, listen to the person, and then ask what challenges are they facing at that moment. Now that enabled her to understand where they are coming from and what is triggering them to behave in a certain manner in that conversation. So here is what I think can help you become a leader who can lead with empathy. Remember, you need to be good at listening, you need to acknowledge, and you need to be curious but not judgmental. And whether you are a leader or not, just think what would change if you or your team felt like being understood. What do you think? Do you think it's important to be understood in the workplace? That's it for today. You are listening to HRTechify, where we humanize the workplace one bite at a time. For more insights, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.